Hey guys, it's Braden, and today we're going to look at the foundation of your dental practice. At Dental Intel, our goal is to help you increase production and patient care. A lot of practices think there's only one way to increase production. Go out and get a bunch of new patients. But that's definitely not the only way. What we need to realize is exactly where production comes from so that we know exactly where we need to go to increase it. We're going to dive into what drives production in a dental practice and how you can begin increasing your production today. We're going to talk about a formula here, but don't let that word scare you. It's a super easy formula. It really just boils down to two variables. So here's what we call the production formula. Visits times production per visit equals total production. If I have 10 visits and I produce $100 per visit, my production is $1,000. As I increase my visits or increase my production per visit, it'll increase total production. That's it. Those are the only two variables that influence production: visits and how much we're producing per visit. The entire performance board, every single metric here, is based off of this simple formula. You may not know how many visits you have or how much your production per visit is. You may not even know your total production. That's okay. That's why we have Dental Intel. Dental Intel's performance board will help us first figure out where we are right now. How many visits are we having? How much are we currently producing per visit? And how much is our total production? And then second, identify how can we improve. Now that we know where we are, what can we do to increase our visits and increase our production per visit so that we can increase our total production? Now that we know what makes up production, let's figure out how we can find the areas we can improve in. When you first log into Dental Intel, you'll be on the performance board. At the top, you'll see the black ticker board scrolling from side to side. If you hover over the arrows, you can get it to move faster. We call all of the metrics on this black ticker board lagging indicators. What this means is that all of these metrics are in the past. It's historical data. It tells us where we've been and what we've done, but it doesn't give us any data to help us improve in the future. Below the ticker board, we have our 9 leading indicators. These 9 metrics will help us improve. They give us the data that we need to improve our performance right now and in the future. Let's go to the ticker board and talk about the first part of the formula, visits. We're going to scroll on the ticker board until we see active patients. Active patients measures the number of patients that have had a completed appointment in the last 18 months and are marked active in your practice management software. This practice has 3,773 active patients. Take a look at your own active patient base. Ask yourself, how many of these active patients do you think have an appointment to come see you again? The answer might surprise you. If you look just to the right of active patients, you'll see pre-appointment percentage. This is the percent of those active patients that are scheduled for a future appointment of any kind. This practice has 53% pre-appointment percentage, meaning 47% of their active patients are never scheduled to come back ever again. This is over 1,700 patients that are never scheduled to come back into the office. By recognizing the percentage of our current active patients that aren't scheduled to come back again, it's clear to see that if we just focus on rescheduling the patients we already have, we don't need to go out and get a whole bunch of new patients. It's so much easier and so much more cost effective to keep the patients we already have rather than try to go out and get new patients. Go look at your own pre-appointment percentage for your practice and ask yourself, where are you? What percent of your patients are scheduled for a future appointment? Where do you want to get that number to? Focus right now on increasing your pre-appointment percentage by 10%. Think about the effect that this will have. Your schedule will fill right up. You'll be increasing your visits, which is going to increase your production. So we've just identified the first variable about how to increase production. Simply make sure that you reschedule the patients you already have. Most practices aren't quite 100% full and have room to increase visits. If that's the case, we absolutely want to increase visits. But some practices are already at 100% capacity. They are always full. Well, that moves us to the second part of our equation, production per visit. If we are at capacity, the only other way to increase production, as we saw in our formula, is to increase production per visit. Head back up to the ticker board and let's go check out production per visit. This will tell us our average production per visit for all providers for the past 90 days. You can click on the menu and then go to Trend to see how the last 13 weeks compare to each other. Now that you know where to find production per visit, you can work on increasing it. There are a bunch of ways to increase production per visit. Doing more same-day treatment, hygiene add-ons such as fluoride and sealants, increasing fees, giving more options of treatment to patients. But the most important way to increase production per visit is improving our case acceptance. But again, the first thing we need to do before we improve is recognize where we already are. Let's quickly run through the performance board and see how all 9 metrics tie back to the production formula. You can change the date here to see any week or month that you want to look at. The numbers you see will reflect that date range. First metric, visits. This metric measures the amount of scheduled and completed visits we have. Hover over an individual day to see the amount of scheduled and completed visits for that specific day. You can use the filters to see just restorative or just hygiene visits. On any of the metrics, you can click on this menu bar for additional info. Click on source data and it'll bring up a list of the patients behind the numbers. You can look at year over year to compare metrics month to month to see your progress. If you have any questions about the metric, the What Is This button will give you more information. As we saw, visits directly affect the amount of production in our practice. This metric is helpful to see how many visits we have for the days coming up in the future. Focus on scheduling your patients to reach or exceed your goal for how many visits you want to have. The next metric is production. Production shows us the amount of scheduled and completed production and can be broken down day by day. This is helpful so we can quickly see if we are scheduled to hit our production goals. It also helps us identify the days our scheduled production is low so we can focus on filling these days up. Again, you can click on the menu to run reports, see the source data, etc. Recare. Remember how we looked at our pre-appointment percentage and realized that we had hundreds of active patients that don't have a future appointment? All of those patients are right here in the Recare pie chart. I can see the amount of unscheduled active patients right here. The different sections are broken down by how long ago the patient's last visit was. Click on a slice of pie to bring up the patient's names. Again, these patients are not scheduled to ever come back into the office. You can filter this list by unscheduled treatment to bring up the patients with the largest amount of unscheduled treatment first. This is a huge opportunity for us to get these patients back on our schedule, which will increase our visits. By using the unscheduled treatment filter, we can make sure that we're having high production per visit. This, in turn, increases our overall production. As you're trying to get in contact with and schedule these patients, use Dental Intel's follow-ups to keep everything organized. Restorative case and hygiene case. These 2 case metrics help us measure our case acceptance. As you focus on improving your case acceptance and getting patients to schedule treatment, you'll increase both your visits and your production per visit. You can click on the menu and then look at the source data to see the patients who still have unscheduled treatment. Use these lists to identify the most important patients to call to get their treatment scheduled. The next metric is new patients. As we mentioned earlier, by reappointing the patients that we already have, you don't need to focus solely on getting a ton of new patients. But we do want to continue to focus on growing our practice through new patients. By monitoring our new patients coming in and making sure we're not losing patients, we can increase our visits. Next, we have hygiene reappointment. The most important way to make sure that we're not losing patients is to not let them slip through the cracks in the first place. Measuring our hygiene reappointment percentage daily is absolutely essential to keeping our current active patients. Click on the menu and view the source data to see a list of the patients that did not get rescheduled for hygiene, and then call them to get them scheduled for their next hygiene visit. Keeping our hygiene reappointment percentage high will ensure that our future hygiene visits stay high. The last 2 metrics deal with broken appointments. Broken appointments can absolutely destroy a practice's production. Think about it. If I average $500 of production per visit, that means that every time someone cancels or no-shows a visit, we're losing, on average, $500 of production. It's crazy. Of course, you're not going to completely get rid of cancellations and no-shows, but what you can do is make sure to reschedule the patient every time they break an appointment. You can use these 2 metrics to help monitor your broken appointments and make sure you reappoint all of those broken appointments. You can open the source data and find the names of these patients, identify the ones that didn't get rescheduled, and then call them to get them back on the schedule. So that's it. Those are the most important metrics we have on the performance board. You can see that all 9 of them play a role in helping us increase visits and increase our production per visit. The production formula is so important. Memorize it, write it on your forehead, stick it on your desk, whatever you need to do to remember it. As you work as an entire dental team to work on increasing your visits and improving your production per visit, your practice's production will go through the roof. Get together every morning as a team and use Dental Intel's Morning Huddle feature to review what happened in your practice yesterday and how you can make sure that today will be productive. Everyone plays a role in creating a healthy practice. Dental Intel's here to help make your role easier. As always, if you need any help, contact us. We love seeing your practice grow.